This is Carl Herberger. Hello, everybody. We're here for a coffee time break. I'm responsible for the portfolio, the product portfolio at Cybersheath. Dan, I'll pass it on over to you for a quick introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I'm Dan Morse. I'm a senior security consultant here at Cybersheath, and I appreciate you bringing me onto the podcast or the coffee break here, Carl.
Yeah, I'm excited about today's topic. It's something that I think a lot of people want to hear about, and to be honest with you, I'm really struggling with this myself. I know we're going to be talking about a step-by-step guide on how to put your NIST 800-171 assessments into this new government supplier performance. Supplier performance risk system. Maybe you can help me with this, Dan. What do I need if I'm like a company? What do I need to do as a prerequisite to get to the SPRS? And why do I need to upload my stuff into SPRS? What's the whole point of all of this? How did it come about?
Yeah, and so really, it came from the interim rule that was passed down in the end of September from DFARS, and then it's requiring that all DoD contractors have their score from their NIST 800-171 framework to be uploaded into the SPRS system. That's on the PIEE website, and that was due for November 30th. So while we're past the deadline, there's still a lot of people in a similar spot where they're trying to get that accomplished. So, like I said, the SPRS piece is done through the PIEE site, and really the couple of things that you're going to need right off the bat are, you want to have your cage code ready, and you'll want to know who your contract administrator is for your PIEE website.
Okay, so you're telling me that 60 days ago, the government put out this interim rule for the defense federal acquisition regulation. That was an emergency rule that said you need to put this stuff into a new system, and that includes an assessment of cybersecurity in your environment. And you will need to go through the PIEE website, is the name of it, I think you said?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so when I'm on the so maybe you can help me with that. So you said I need a cage code. What is a cage code? How does that work?
Cage code is usually what identifies your company. At this point, if you have any dealings with any DoD contracts or any contracts, from suppliers, you more than likely do have a cage code. Now, we found that some people, while they have their cage code, they haven't actually registered that cage code on the PIEE website. The way you can check to make sure that you do have that is there is a tab on the front page of the PIEE website where it does allow you to look up your cage code. One of two things will happen when you look up that cage code. Either you're going to get a result and it's going to say your contract administrator is, we'll just say Jane Doe for this example, or you're going to get an error and it's going to say no contract administrator has been assigned to this cage code. At that point, you're going to want to call the PIEE web help desk and get that sorted out. You can do it through email, but it's about a 48-hour turnaround. And I'm going to, so I think a lot of people aren't looking to have that wait time. So you can certainly call the help desk. I would say be prepared to wait a little bit. I think it's about 45 minutes to get through. Once again, I think a lot of people are in a similar situation, so they're pretty busy these days. But the benefit there is you'll get it done instantly. They'll be able to set you up with your account, and if you need that SPRS access, which almost everyone does at this point, they'll be able to get that provision for you as well right on the spot.
It almost feels like you're submitting your taxes or something like that. Now let me ask you
something.
something.
It could be just as painful.
Yeah. Um, I think some companies might have multiple cage codes, right? Isn't that possible? And how would you know which cage code you have to put in here? Is the cage code assigned to the contract, or do you have to do every cage code that you have?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And yeah, while you're doing the account registration, one of the pieces of that is entering in your cage code. So if you have multiple, you will need to add each one of those in. And once again, I would say it's been very rare, but I think there was an occasion where a company had three different cage codes. Two of them were tied to one contract administrator, and then the third was to another. So you just want to be sure that you check out your cage codes beforehand.
You better be careful, Dan. I bet people are going to start calling you instead of the PIE help desk because you've had so much experience with this.
I can get them. I can get them only so far.
Right. Okay, so I get my cage code. I know my contracting officer. I've already done my NIST assessment. I have my score, and I've now registered and I've got my account. Now help me with what happens next.
Yeah. So at that point, you have your SPRS access. So you'll sign in. You should see that SPRS icon on your front page.
Mhm.
So you'll want to click on that. That will bring you to the page where it'll talk a little bit about the SPRS, and then over, I think it's on the left side of the screen, there will be a NIST SP 800-171 assessment tab, and you'll want to click there, and that will bring you to where you need to submit your SPRS score.
Now, I understand that there's some confusion at this point because they ask you what kind of vendor you are and they present you with options. And that I understand from some customers that I've talked to that they may fit maybe one or more or multiple options, or maybe even all of the options at times. That sometimes they're a prime, sometimes they're a subcontractor, and so forth. Can you walk through that piece? Do you have to register for every one that you are, or do you just register for one?
So I think in most cases for the audience that we'll have, there'll be just the SPRS
Government
user
deal.
vendor.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so there'll be the user vendor. So you'll want to sign up as that.
Hmm.
And really that'll be what the option for, I would suspect the majority of the audience will be.
Yeah, and I noticed also in your blog that we have online that walks through this via your blog that there's the ability for you to actually register even if you don't support DoD, which is a very interesting thing. You can put your score in. Is that indeed the case? Is that what you found?
Yeah, really, it's as long as you have a cage code and your cage code is linked to a contract administrator, you can have the access to do so.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Perfect. Um, and then I know there's lots of questions about the security of this environment because obviously the whole defense industrial base cybersecurity records are beginning the process of being placed in one database. Can you talk through the amount of security that seems to be needed as you sign on? It looks like there's a bunch of security questions you have to answer, and that not everybody can do this. It has to be a representative from the company themselves, right?
Right. So not, if you register for an SPRS account, yeah, they'll ask for those that information, such as like security questions, and then they you don't get your approval for your account by anyone at the PIE or anywhere outside. It has to come from the contract administrator of your account. So, if Jane Doe signs up for her account, it'll just sit in a pending state until you get your contract administrator to activate that account for you.
Got it. Got it. Okay, then you upload your information. Now, I understand that today, December 14th, as we record this, there's been some changes to the SPRS. Can you kind of walk us through what information are they looking for to, as we go forward?
Yeah, so interesting enough, like you said, Carl, today, right around 10 o'clock, they finished that update. So there's new mandatory fields that are now being required. Originally, it was just your cage code, your assessment score, and your estimated plan completion date. And then with this, after this maintenance update that they just had today, they've added some, I think it was 3 new fields around your system security plan. So it looks to be asking for what the assessment name is. It looked like a text field. There's a little bit of an unknown there because there wasn't a lot of clarity, but it looks like it's looking for like the document name, the version number that you're on. So if you've had your original SSP, that would be version 1, and you've since updated that, it could be a version 1.1 or so on. And then it asks for your last update date. So if you just made your update on December 13th, you would want to input that.
Got it. It looks like there's a lot of information that's needed in here in terms of your role in the company and completing agreements and privacy things that you have to agree to, end user license agreements and so forth. The like you said, approval of your cage code and so forth, and then working towards your POAM. Anything else that you want to talk through?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's really important that everyone gets you get a hold of your cage code, find out who your contract administrator is, because if you go through the initial account setup process without knowing that, you may sit in a pending state for a little bit. And the initial instructions that were sent out, even from PIE, did not mention going out to your contract administrator and making sure that they approve your account. So really, just making sure that you do have that PIE account set up with a contract administrator with your cage code, and then making sure if you haven't and you've set up your account, you just follow up with whoever that contract administrator is so that they can approve your account.
Perfect. One last question. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I wonder, because I've been talking to a number of different companies, especially recently, smaller companies, and they're subcontractors to big primes. Would a smaller company know who their contracting officer is, or do they have to talk to their prime about that?
I feel like they would want to talk to their prime about that and make sure they get that information.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I talked to a company that did specialty alloys this morning, and he said he doesn't even know much about the prime that buys his specialty alloys. So this is going to facilitate a lot of conversations, I think. That's great. I feel like I'm an expert now, Dan, about what needs to be done and how it's going to be done. I really appreciate the time and effort. Anything else that you have on your side?
No, I mean, hopefully this is able to help people, and if not, contact Cybersheath.
Exactly. So understand that there's a blog out there. Dan Morse, Carl Herberger at Cybersheath. We're easy to find. We thank you very much, everybody, for chiming in today.